Hello everyone, this is group 23 and we are here to present our project on the topic screen addiction. So, what is screen addiction? It is basically the overuse of screen or uncontrollable behavior of screen usage. Studies say that screen addiction has the same kind of effect on our brain as that of cocaine. Dopamine is released from our brain while we are using screen, and this release of dopamine can have negative effects on our brain. Young children are highly susceptible to screen addiction, and research also shows that this can lead to change in the structure of their brains. Now, coming down to the examples of screen addiction. First, work related digital addiction. This type of addiction is when, for some people, work becomes a way to escape from their real life problems. They cannot do anything apart from doing their work. Some very common signs are like going over through their presentations related to work or emails even on holidays and weekends, and working late even after office hours. In a study of 250 people in a digitalized workspace, it was seen that 9.2% participants fall in the category of at risk for developing addiction. This means that these people who fall in this category is because of excessive use of internet in their workspace. Example 2, gaming addiction. Games are something that interests everyone as they transport into a world of new realities. Games also give us a rush and we crave for achievement, which makes them interesting, especially for young individuals. These things have made games very popular. Some games are never ending, which makes them addictive for people. Games are so addictive that if you are addicted to them, then you do not think of anything else apart from games, and sometimes you feel really bad if you cannot play. Many young individuals become so addictive to gaming that they play games at the expense of exercise or their schoolwork. Example 3, social media addiction. There are various social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and these platforms have become highly addictive these days. People use social media as a way to escape from their problems in real life, showing off their achievements, and then they feel really good about it. Basically, many people use social media as a way to cope up from loneliness, stress, or depression. Some common signs of social media addiction are thinking about social media all the time, not being able to concentrate on other stuff other than social media, and spending almost all the time on these platforms. Now, after giving all these examples, I would say that the thing common to all these examples is that all examples or all the kind of addictions, I could say, cause physiological as well as psychological effects on a person.
Statistics give an important picture of the current state of screen addiction. As of recently, COVID-19 has affected the landscape of screen addiction dramatically. The COVID restrictions and lockdowns of the past 3 years have exacerbated the amount of screen addiction in our society. This really isn't much of a surprise for most because for many of us throughout 2020, we were stuck in our homes. Since the incentive to go outside and interact with others was removed because of social distancing, there were limited options on what to do to pass the time. So for many, people naturally gravitated to their electronic devices. According to the journal entry COVID-19 Pandemic and the Burden of Internet Addictions in the United States, released in 2021, as much as 54% of Americans have mild to severe screen addiction, largely as a result of the pandemic. As we have seen, the use of screens and mobile devices have had a steady incline, especially during the past few years. One study by the King's University Online published in 2017 state that people on average touch their phones 2,617 times per day. However, this statistic is only for mobile devices. If computers and other devices were added to the mix, this statistic would be much higher, which shows the current levels of screen addiction among people today. Another factor which has affected screen addiction has been the move to online schooling. According to Children's Hospital Philadelphia, children's aged 18 I mean 8 to 12 spent 4.5 hours on average, while other kids aged 13 to 18 spend 6.5 hours on average of screen time just for school, which has exacerbated the current effects of screen addiction. To conclude, the statistics show the current state of screen addiction in the world, in America, and among college students. They show how pressing the problem truly is. Luckily, there are ways to help manage screen addiction. Screen addiction, like any addiction, is hard to deal with. However, there are some ways to deal with this particular addiction. By the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, they have a few ways of mitigating screen time. They suggest to avoid multitasking like doing work and watching TV, which loses concentration at the work at hand. Do not disrupt sleep, and no screens at the dinner table. Find a few ways to occupy time. Find small ways to change habits. All these suggestions are non-technological related and are good suggestions. However, if one was looking for more of a technological solution, one can install an app. For example, there are apps that exist to block phone usage, for example, AppBlock. There are also apps that self-limit phone usage, like, for example, Flipped. How what Whether it's through changing habits or installing apps, there are ways to help deal with screen addiction.
An example app that contributes to the problem of screen addiction is TikTok. According to Statista article, monthly active users of TikTok worldwide, TikTok has over 1 billion monthly active users with an aggregate 26 billion hours of monthly watch time. The underlying reason that TikTok is so addicting and can generate these statistics is that, well, the same reason all social media is addicting. It is purposely crafted to addict the user. TikTok implements algorithms and AI which exist to recommend videos that most maximize total watch time. This occurs through dopamine cycles, which can quickly addict users and lead to worsening screen addiction. With the scope of TikTok's reach and scale, it is clear just how much TikTok has affected average screen addiction. Based on elements covered earlier in this presentation, there are ways we can change TikTok to alleviate these concerns. This inquiry can help us build a better understanding of how we can tackle screen addiction in the future in practical and meaningful ways. The changes we could make to TikTok affect how users are able to interact with their platform. As shown in the wireframe in the presentation, when someone opens TikTok, a timer is started in the background. Once that timer runs out, 30 minutes, TikTok will forcefully kick users off of its platform for 15 minutes. Additional features that are hidden behind the software include changes to the algorithm to maximize viewer well-being rather than watch time. This data can be captured through routine polls conducted by TikTok themselves, as well as general academia. The final feature would be a personal time selector outside of the app, which would let users select a maximum amount of time usage for TikTok every day or week. If users hit this limit, the app will forcefully lock down until the next day or week. The first change helps combat screen addiction as it forces users to do things other than TikTok during their day. According to Jarek Brock from BetterHumans.pub, screen addictions often come about due to continuous usage. So if you can break up this usage, positive results will follow that lower screen addiction. Step 2 helps reduce screen addiction in a different way. Changing these algorithms will remove much of the mechanism by which users get addicted in the first place. If algorithms, instead of focusing on watch time, are focused on well-being, algorithms won't be addicting the user. The third change allows users to forcefully control any screen addiction that remains after the two earlier changes. Users could set a limit of 1 hour a day, and even if they personally lack the resolve to exit the app after that hour, the app will do it for them. These changes together show us how we can improve TikTok to help limit screen addiction. More broadly, it paints a picture of steps all technology and all people can take moving forward to help combat this problem.